Hello, everyone. Welcome. Today is super special. I have a wonderful guest with me today. Her name is Jordana Megonigal, and she is the CEO of the Recon Network. We are here today to talk about an upcoming event for military spouses and for veterans. It is the 2020 Veteran and Employment Transition Summit, VET for short, and the dates are coming up November 19th and 20th. It is free for military spouses and veterans to sign up and attend the event. So I'd encourage you to listen up today and hear what Jordana has to say about the event, the speakers, and what you will learn at the event. Jordana, do you mind telling us a little bit about yourself and what you do at the Recon Network?
Absolutely, Jamie, and thank you so much for having me today. I really appreciate it. I'm the CEO of the Recon Network. We are focused on the human element of veteran transition, and that does include military spouses. The human element, when we say that, what we mean is we're not looking at the check boxes that have to be maintained during any sort of transitional path. That transitional path can be just exiting the military. It can be 5 years down the road or even 20 years down the road. But what we're looking for with the human element is really motivation, goal setting, purpose. Are you finding meaning in the next stage of your career outside of the military and outside of being a military family? And so those things are kind of what drives us and why we started the VET Summit, to connect different entities in the areas of especially for veterans and transitioning service members, for military spouses, and for hiring companies, so that we could start addressing kind of a larger issue piece by piece and hopefully making some headway on finding meaningful, purposeful careers for veterans and military spouses.
And so the VET Summit exists for those transitions in the military family's life. Let's talk a little bit about what the content of the summit is and what spouses and veterans will learn at the event.
Yeah, so it's all over the place. So for veterans and military spouses, we have 2 days of conference material. We have keynotes, one and both of them are still waiting to be that final confirmation. But one of them is a Paralympian who kind of dealt with his own set of challenges as he transitioned and ended up working and serving on the U.S. team on the Paralympics. We have different topics in terms, for military spouses. We're looking at, okay, well, what is this certification argument? We hear a lot about certification and being able to transfer certifications state to state. What does that look like? What does it mean? Or how do you make your resume stand above the rest when you are actually in a job search? How do you start addressing issues when you have a long gap of employment in your work history? So, and then with veterans, how do you start translating skills so that you can communicate effectively in a civilian conversation with a corporation or a hiring company? All of those things. How do you find purpose and chase that with everything you have? And how do you stand above the fray? So we've got a lot of stuff. The agenda should be out early next week, the final agenda with times and speakers and the topics and everything. But it's just going to be a great event for people to attend. And if you can't attend during the day, the great part is you'll have access to all of this content. If you register, you'll have access to all of this content through the end of the year, so you can go back, rewatch, watch something that you missed or anything like that as well.
That's wonderful. We have a really cool track, which is a little bit unusual for an event like this. Usually it's all about the veteran, it's all about the military spouse. You have a really cool track if you are a company. Yes. And you are looking at veterans and you are looking at military spouses and you're considering hiring them. Yes. Tell us about that track and what a company might be able to expect if they were to look at the VET Summit.
Yeah. So this is a critical part of the conversation, and this is why we include it with the VET Summit. To this point, and this is my personal opinion, but I will die on this hill if I have to, we have put a lot of pressure and a lot of responsibility for the actual job search into what is veteran hiring companies or veteran-friendly hiring companies. we've put a lot of the responsibility, if not all, in many cases, on the military family and on the veteran themselves. The reality is that it will take both sides of the equation focusing on this issue of veteran hiring and military spouse hiring in order to make progress. A veteran or a military spouse can learn how to make their stuff stand out, how to translate skills, how to address work history gaps all day long. And if a hiring professional does not know how to translate those skills or does not understand the soft skills that are brought to the table and is just looking at the actual work experience, then we have a huge gap that's not being addressed. So we have got to involve our hiring companies more and more in this conversation, training them. And a lot of organizations are realizing this. SHRM, Psych Armor, there are great groups out there who are trying to teach hiring professionals, companies, CEOs, C-suite, how to better find, hire, and retain veterans. So this is not a new concept, but it is one that we implement alongside the other tracks because one, all three need to kind of be in tandem, but also, we have live event or we have live networking at the end of the event. So we hope that people will stick around and actually network with each other and actually talk about jobs. We have another company that is doing job match. So, the veteran or military spouse can upload their resume and then hiring companies in attendance can send over their most important job description right now. And we'll start matching people up and seeing if there's matches involved. So we've got a lot of things going on at this event dedicated to the actual hiring, not just talking about how great it would be if you could find a job.
And that's wonderful because it is a two-sided equation. When you bring, you put a service member through transition assistance program, they learn how to write a resume and it's their responsibility to go out and apply for these positions.
Yes.
But you're right. If the company doesn't understand anything about the military, how could they attract the right talent and retain them for the long haul?
Right.
Let's talk about something that's my own shtick, my own pet peeve. What's the difference if you're a company and you want to hire military spouses and veterans? Is there a difference in that hiring program? What does that look like to you?
I think there is. And now, granted, I am not an HR representative. I do come from the corporate world. I've got very long tenured history within business and economic development and such. So take all of this with my own personal grain of salt. But I do think that there are differences. I think there are differences in the types of soft skills that are brought to the table between a veteran and a military spouse. When I look at a military spouse, I see someone who has literally juggled everything to keep everything running all at the same time. So, in a corporate translation, you could easily say they're one of the best project managers around. And same on the veteran side. I think there are skills that are inherent in the cultures of our military families and our veterans that are often overlooked, but I do think they are a little bit different. I think there's a need to address the specific experiences and the specific things that military spouses bring to the table apart from their relationship, their own personal relationship with the military as well.
Yeah. And, unless it was maybe a dual military couple or something, the spouse didn't go to boot camp.
Right.
I've been asked a question before, legitimately. Do spouses come with background checks? Do they come with a security clearance? Right. Don't you have to have a security clearance to be married to a service member?
Right.
And no.
Yeah.
No, you don't have to do that. If, in my case, I served myself and I had a clearance, but that was just because I served. It had nothing to do with the fact that I married my Army husband, right? So just people have a gross misunderstanding of the military community and what it's like to be a military spouse. And I think that some of the things that come across my table are comical and how bad they are. So I'm excited for the opportunity to connect employers to military spouses, to veterans, and to put the employer's on a track to learn a little bit more about what it takes to successfully hire these folks. Is there any way that you would be willing to talk about the specific classes that maybe a military spouse could take or a veteran? I know you said the official agenda comes out next week, but I'm just curious if you've got a few titles you could go over with us.
One is, and these are, again, tentative titles. We are still, the one thing that COVID has done is allowed all of us to not have to rush. So we are still working on, a few details that we're trying to get put together for this event to make sure that when we release the information, it is correct. That is my biggest concern. But yes, we're looking at a report on the state of hiring after COVID. What does it look like? What does this new economy that we're kind of facing in 2021, are companies hiring? What kinds of jobs will be hired for? So we're looking at a pretty interesting perspective on that. We are looking at having someone who can address, we talk about work history and gaps in work history, and having a professional who will be speaking on, how to address that. How do you even go into a job interview with a 10 or 12-year gap, or bouncing around from job to job? How do you start addressing those things very competently in an interview, and to where it kind of feeds both parties, and it doesn't look like you're just job hopping and that kind of thing. You, Jamie, you're speaking as well. We have a number of groups on just, how, or I believe you're talking about hiring military spouses and how to do that well. What are the things that companies need to know, and starting to start that education process for these companies, because while a lot of companies have been researching and learning more about hiring veterans, I promise you there are less and less that know about hiring military spouses. So really, those are just a few of the pieces that we have. One is, how to start translating your skills and standing above the rest of the applicants, how to use your own experience to set you apart. So those are a few things that we've got right now. And there are definitely more to come. So keep your eyes open.
That's a good teaser. I appreciate you being willing to kind of jump into the meats and potatoes of some of that, because I know it's tentative in some of the cases, but it's always good to, I think, know what you're going to get into if you're going to sign up for an event like this.
Absolutely.
If you are watching, I appreciate you. First of all, thank you. Just, drop a like, drop a comment, let us know you're here. But more importantly, in the description of this video, I put a link to the event page. And so after we're done talking, go in the video, click the link, and then it takes you to the page where you can, military spouses and veterans can sign up for this event for free. Jordana,
yes.
This is usually an in-person event. Right?
Makes me
Tell me about rolling with the punches a little bit and making this happen during this crazy pandemic. What's on your end?
So usually we do live events. We do localized live events. And this year, as of mid-February, we had about 6 events lined up. And we're really excited because that was an expansion over the year before. And then, March happened. So, we started pushing back a little bit. Oh, well, we'll have it in June. We'll have it in November. We'll have it. And then finally, we just said, you know what? It's not going to happen this year. And so, to be quite honest and transparent, I had about a 2-month temper tantrum about it and dealt with my own little feelings. And once we pulled out of it, decided that what we had was still valuable, even in a virtual format. While all of us love to be in contact with people and meeting people face to face, I think I doubt there's anyone at this point who would say otherwise. But the reality is that we are still able to bring together a whole lot of people, and without travel issues and without timing issues and monetary and funding issues, we can do it in a much larger format online. So we are hoping that that will actually come true and that we will be able to serve absolutely as many people as possible in this virtual format and make 2020 worthwhile, even having to cancel the things that we love doing.
I, for one, really miss in-person events, but then I know what's going to happen. I'm an introverted kind of gal.
Yeah.
And I love events where there's small groups and where you're doing one-on-ones with folks. And then at big conferences, I always end up freaking out and like sticking to one person at the side of the room and pestering them the whole time. So I keep telling people, I miss real life events. I miss people. And then as soon as we get back to it again, I'm going to be all awkward again, like I usually am.
It's okay. You'll be awkward in public.
Well, I'm excited about the event. As she said, I am going to be speaking. I have a military spouse course I'm teaching, and I'm teaching one to the companies about military spouse hiring initiatives. And I'm super excited about that. Let's see. Does the Recon Network, outside of this event, to tease something else if you have it coming on the agenda, do you have any more upcoming events for 2020 or planned events for 2021 that you want to talk about?
Yes. So we do have one for December of 2020. We will be doing a goal setting webinar and workshop. And it's really, it's a couple hours long. We don't have a date yet. We're going to get all that pulled together, but it will be an event really, really focused on looking at 2021. At this point, call 2020 a wash. Whatever has happened has happened. Looking forward, how can we, knowing what we know, and recognizing that we're not ever going to know everything, how can we start putting together pieces for the life that you want, to accomplish the goals that you have personally, and to actually make traction and make progress on them. So we start with, legacy. What is the legacy you want to leave behind? What is going to be written in the dash on your tombstone, that kind of thing. And we work all the way back to 72 hours. What are you going to do in the next 72 hours to get to that point? So it's a really intensive event. It's not for everybody, but if that is something that you're looking for, I will have more information. We will have a virtual expo booth at the virtual event coming up. We'll have a little bit more info on that, hopefully a date by then as well, that you can just kind of click, get more information and get on that mailing list so that we can let you know when it launches.
We have lots of engagements, lots of people commenting, saying they'll share the event out to their network, and even had one person say, hey, I'll sign my company up for it. This sounds pretty cool. Yay! So this is our brief little video here is reaching some folks. And Jordana, I appreciate your time today and coming on and talking about the event. As we shore up those details early next week, I will share it out as well.
Absolutely.
And then for those of you who maybe are just tuning in and listening, the VET Summit is November 19th and 20th. In the description of the video is the link. You can click it, and veterans and military spouses can sign up to attend the event for free. Is there any last words or tips or tricks or advice that you would like to leave with our audience today?
Yes. So I think one of the most important things that any of us can do is realize that we're all individuals. We're all walking our own experiences in this life. Helping each other and working together is the best way to help all of us move forward. They say the rising tide raises all ships. It is not a lie. So whatever you do, look out for yourself, look out for your own purpose, try to find meaning in your own life, and then help somebody else try and find theirs as well.
Wonderful. Jordana, thank you. This has been wonderful. Our chat has been super well received, and I appreciate your time today and everything that you do on behalf of veterans and military spouses.
No, thank you as well. I appreciate your time and your efforts in getting stuff like this out. I appreciate it.
Thank you, ma'am. We'll see you guys soon.
Thanks.